In the heart of South America lies a land so grand, a nation filled with beauty, where dreams are in command, with golden sunsets painting skies and rivers flowing free. One Guyana, our homeland, where unity runs deep. One Guyana, united we stand, hand in hand, we'll build a land from the coast to the savannas, the rainforest tall. One Guyana will rise above it all. From the mighty Essequibo to the Rupununi Plains, diverse cultures intertwined like rivers after rains. Oh, the colors of our people, a tapestry so bright. One Guyana, different faces, a harmonious sight. One Guyana, united we stand, hand in hand, we'll build our land from the coast to the savannas, the rainforest all. One Guyana will rise above it all.
McCain. Same Guyanese blood in our vein. So make we burn out the hatred, time for erasing. Can't make that destroy. 6 race, I share the same space in this 83,000 square miles.
We are one Guyana, a place of peace, a place of love. We are one Guyana, it's paradise, it's our world.
Brother is a brother, no matter which religion is you. Could have Buddhist, Christian, Muslim, Hindu. Sister is a sister, real and true. One big water culture brew.
And all of we together could really make this dream come true of a brighter Guyana for me and you. Ocean to mountains, hear this tune. Take it cool. We are one Guyana, a place of peace, a place of love. We are one Guyana, it's paradise, it's our world. My love runs deep like a beautiful rivers for Guyana. Oh, And when we stand as one, mighty like Mount Jerima, for Guyana, for Guyana. Our life would be beautiful, just like Guyana. She's blessed us with her own, just to embrace her. They say, one and alone can't clap, so let's put our hands together. Give her a standing ovation, this great nation, a little gem of this world, yeah. A place of peace, a place of love. We are one Guyana, it's paradise, it's our world. We are one Guyana, a place of peace, a place of love. We are one Guyana, it's paradise, it's our Arrowhead, I love my golden arrowhead. I don't think you heard me. I said arrowhead. I love my golden arrowhead. Mama, mama, all GT Massive crew, where are you? Where are you?
Hello.
If you're present, represent. If you're present, represent. Represent.
Good
Sing out. From Guyana to Canada, from Ituni to Miami, from Boston to Brixton, from Leghorn to London. If you hear them arrowhead, I love my golden arrowhead. If you feel it in your heart that you get me doing your part, arrowhead, I love my golden arrowhead. When I see the flag waving, it's a sight that's so amazing. And I can feel the rhythm blazing. And I can hear the people them saying, arrowhead, I love my golden arrowhead. Children, arrowhead,
I would invite us all to make ourselves reverent as we recite the universal prayer, which can be found at the back of the program, which I think each and every one of us may have. Where the mind is without fear and the head is held high, where knowledge is free, where the world has not been broken up into fragments by narrow domestic walls, where words come out from the depth of truth, where tireless striving stretches its arms towards perfection, where the clear stream of reason has not lost its way into the dreary desert sand of dead habit, where the mind is led forward by thee into ever-winding thought and action, into that heaven of freedom. My Father, let my country awake. National Pledge. Begin, I pledge. Thank you so much. You may have your seats. On a housekeeping matter, I would like to ask us all to put our phones on silent or vibrate, since it may disrupt our program, and we look forward to a very smooth one today. Minister of Education, Honorable Priya Manikchand, PS, CEO in absentia, they may join us. Dr. Jamie Savidra and team of the World Bank, Chief Planning Officer, Deputy Chief Education Officers, Directors within different units of the Ministry of Education, ACEOs, Chairman of TVET and staff, other officers of the Ministry of Education, officers of the Ministry of Finance, principals of TVET institutions, special invitees, teachers, and most importantly, our students or learners. Pleasant good afternoon to each and every one of you. I'm your host, I'm your MC for today, Marty D'Souza, Deputy Chief Education Officer with responsibility for Amerindian and hinterland education development. And it gives me great pleasure to walk with you through this program today. Today is a very historic day in the life of education in Guyana. If you are following the Ministry of Education social media page, or even the media, the popular media, you would have seen that recently quite a number of practical instruction centers have been commissioned. The government of Guyana is investing heavily in human capital to ensure that the ongoing economic transition results in sustainable, resilient, and inclusive economic growth. Having a TVET policy strategically points in the direction that we want to head for now until the next 10 years, which of course within that time there is scope for review as policies and the directions may change. But it's very, very strategic that we are going to be launching this policy paper today, and we will be hearing a lot more about this policy as the program goes on. And so to begin, I want to invite the chairman of the TVET, Mr. Ilan Suknan, to give us some welcome remarks. Please welcome Mr. Suknan.
Thank you, Marty. Good afternoon, everyone. All protocols observed. It is indeed an esteemed honor and privilege to stand here this afternoon at this momentous occasion as the chairman of TVET to launch the National TVET Policy Framework. This event is not just a narrative of extensive research, strategic planning, and collaboration, but one that marks a significant milestone in our collective journey to transform TVET into a dynamic and responsive operational pillar of national development. Guyana is at a pivotal stage in its development, a nation on the rise, propelled by an evolving economy rich in opportunities. The landscape of our workforce is changing rapidly, and as a country, we must ensure that our human capital is equally prepared to meet the demands of modern industries, emerging technologies, and the future of work. The government of Guyana, under the astute and visionary leadership of His Excellency Dr. Mohamed Irfan Ali, has demonstrated unwavering commitment to advancing technical and vocational education as a fundamental enabler and cornerstone of economic growth, social progress, and national development. With strategic and significant investments in modern training facilities, curriculum enhancement, industry partnerships, and digital transformation, the government of Guyana is ensuring that TVET is being positioned at the core of national transformation, ensuring that our workforce is equipped with the competencies and skills necessary to drive and thrive in Guyana's rapidly evolving economy, and ensuring that it remains sustainable, dynamic, inclusive, and aligned with regional and global workforce strengths. This robust policy framework that is launched today is a testament to government's commitment to the operational transformation of all TVET institutions across this country, ensuring that our programs are accessible, industry-driven, regionally and internationally benchmarked. Commendations are in place for our Honorable Minister of Education, Priya Manikchan, and her dynamic team, particularly through the Office of the Deputy Chief Education Officer Technical, Dr. Ritesh Tularam. Their tireless efforts in ensuring that TVET is not only prioritized, but transformed into an engine for national growth and development, and in alignment with all standards. Their vision ensures that our TVET system is not only robust, but also future-ready, preparing our students for a world that demands innovation, adaptability, and excellence. The vision for education extends beyond traditional academia, recognizing that technical and vocational training is essential for sustainable development, economic diversification, and social mobility. Today, our TVET policy document is not just another Government of Guyana initiative, but an operational blueprint for change and transformation, a genuine policy for progress. It acknowledges the needs for skills development in key economic sectors, including the oil and gas sector, construction, manufacturing, ICT, agriculture, and other traditional sectors. It also prioritizes entrepreneurial skills, competency-based training, and digital integration to ensure that our graduates are not only job seekers, but also job creators. While we celebrate this milestone today, let us also recognize that this is just the beginning. The success of this policy framework depends on our collective will to implement, adapt, and innovate. It will require strong leadership, partnerships, and collaborations between industry and training institutions, investments in upskilling our educators, and a cultural shift that positions TVET as a premier pathway to professional excellence. To you, our students and young people of Guyana, this policy is aimed at your development and progress. It is a promise that your aspirations are valid, your talents will be nurtured, and you will be equipped with the skills and resources necessary to compete and thrive in Guyana, the Caribbean, and internationally. As we embark on this new chapter, I urge our educators and trainers to continue delivering quality technical education that is second to none. I urge our private sector partners to collaborate actively in shaping training programs that meets industry needs. I urge our policymakers to ensure that TVET remains a national priority backed by strong governance and investment. I urge our students to embrace the opportunities presented by TVET as a pathway to lifelong skills and prosperity. Ladies and gentlemen, let us remember that TVET is not just about training, it's about transformation. It's about equipping individuals with skills and to shape their own destinies, to drive national progress, and to elevate Guyana on the global stage. Together, let us champion this vision and ensure that TVET continues to be the foundation upon which we build a resilient, skilled, and prosperous Guyana. The TVET policy document goes beyond pages. It is benchmarked against policies, priorities, programs, and progress. Today, we take a bold step towards an empowered, skilled, and resilient workforce. I encourage you all to embrace this journey with optimism and commitment. Let us continue to work together to elevate Guyana, not just as an alternative, but as the first choice for skills excellence, empowerment, and national development. With this being said, I officially welcome you to this launch and invite you to engage fully as we usher in a new chapter in making technical vocational education and training a beacon of excellence in Guyana. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Elon Suknan, Chairman of the Council for Technical and Vocational Education and Training, TVET. If we had any doubts about the importance of TVET, I think Mr. Suknan would have just washed away all our doubts. Not only did he welcome us, but I think we were charged to ensure that TVET is the way to go. Countless hours and sweat has been put into this policy document, and to tell us more about this document, I want us to welcome Dr. Ritesh Tularam, Deputy Chief Education Officer Technical, who will be giving us an overview of this policy. Please welcome Dr. Tularam.
Thank you very much to our chairperson, Mr. Marty D'Souza. And I want to join in recognizing in our presence here this afternoon our Honorable Minister of Education, Priya Manik-Chan. I want to recognize as well Dr. Savidra, if I get that right, the World Bank Director for Human Development for Latin America and the Caribbean. And of course, I ask respectfully to stand on the existing protocols that were already established. Indeed, today it's a significant event. As was mentioned by the chairman of the Council for TVET, Mr. Suknanan, and of course our chairperson, today it's indeed a historic event for the Ministry of Education, the government of Guyana, as we launch a very important document, and that is the Technical and Vocational Education and Training Policy for 2025-2035. Indeed, the document, it's rich, comprehensive, robust, and strategic, that will carefully charter an indelible and significant pathway in the history-making of our country and the Ministry of Education in the promotion, advocacy, and scaffolding of quality, relevance, equity, and the quality in the delivery of technical and vocational education and training here in Guyana. And so, Chair, I want to pause here briefly before I get into providing an overview of this comprehensive policy, to recognize the unfathomable and scholarly technical contributions of the key players in the realization of this national policy. I recall vividly when I was tasked with this opportunity or this activity by the Honorable Minister of Education and the CEO to quickly move and set up a task team representing a wide cross-section of practitioners within the various sectors in Guyana, and for us to conceptualize, to design, to develop, to rationalize, and of course, to produce a document that will represent the trajectory of technical education in this beautiful country, Guyana, and by extension, the Ministry of Education. And so I recognize the task team, the persons who worked tirelessly in ensuring that today we can launch this massive document that I believe each and every one of us here, we are having a copy of same. Now, I want to present this overview in 4 thematic areas so that we can understand, we can appreciate exactly what we are launching here today. So I'll provide a brief background of the TVET in Guyana. I'll talk a little bit about the conceptual framework of the TVET policy, the policy context of the document, and of course, the policy objectives and the strategies in realizing the policy objectives. So a brief background. The Government of Guyana Ministry of Education is investing in human capital to ensure that the ongoing economic transition result in green, resilient, and inclusive economic growth. These investments are designed to build human capital for the new economy, with specific emphasis on the oil and gas sector, climate-resilient agriculture, low-carbon technology, and digital development. Presently, Guyana's labor force structure remains largely oriented towards the traditional sectors where the majority of the working population is employed in one of the 2 sectors, agriculture, forestry, and fishing. Other important sectors of economic activities include construction, manufacturing, public administration, and services. While these sectors are growing rapidly, the Government of Guyana understands that it is important to invest in technical and vocational skills development at all levels to prepare a competent, competitive labor force with the requisite skills, knowledge, and competencies to meet the ever-changing and future skills needs of Guyanese rapidly emerging locally as well as the Caribbean regions. Further, the Government of Guyana, by extension the Ministry of Education, developmental agenda places technical and vocational education and training equally among its top priorities and seeks to ensure that TVET is delivered holistically and that TVET supply meets the labor market demands based on this. The Ministry of Education, with support from the World Bank, embarked on the development of the National TVET Policy, which shall span for a period of 10 years, 2025-2035. The policy presents the vision for the Guyana TVET sector for the next 10 years and includes the objectives and vision that need to be achieved. Of course, I want to say at this point in time, in the whole conceptualization, development, reviewing, rationalization, and final approval of this policy, reports emanating from the International Labour Organization, the tracer study that was done under the World Bank, the skills gap analysis that was done under the World Bank, and other local reports emanating from research agencies in conjunction with the low carbon development strategy and the local content policy. All these documents were consulted in representing a holistic, a comprehensive, a rigid, and a very strategic policy document. A conceptual overview in the realization of the TVET policy. Guyana's parliament in 2004 passed 2 acts to address 2 components in Article 46 of the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas, namely the Technical and Vocational Education and Training Act, Act number 11 of 2004, and the National Accreditation Act, Act number 12 of 2004. Out of Act number 11, 2004, the Council for Technical and Vocational Education and Training formally became operationalized in April of 2004. The CTVET was established to ensure the supply of adequate human capital to the Guyanese economy and, where possible, to the Caribbean region. So the point establishes that the Council for TVET, the NAC, and all the other training agencies, they are critical in the realization of the policy that is before us. As part of the development of the Guyana National TVET Policy, a comprehensive review of the TVET sector in the country was conducted between January and February of 2024, with the view of getting a clear understanding of the present status of the sector to inform the development of the policy. The review also discussed with key stakeholders the challenges and barriers to skills development in the country which need to be addressed to be able to meet the present and future skills demand of the Guyanese economy. Policy context. The Guyana National TVET Policy 2025-2035 has been developed, taking into consideration technical and vocational skills development issues emanating from and in context of global, regional, and country levels. This is to ensure that the policy meets the requirements of the CANTA Quality Assurance Framework, and CANTA is the Caribbean Association for National Training Agencies, and enhances skills mobility of TVET graduates in Guyana and beyond. At the global level, the policy is primarily linked to the Sustainable Development Goal, SDG 4, which speaks to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. And its target to be met by 2030. This is to ensure equal access for all women and men to affordable and quality technical, vocational, and tertiary education, including university, substantially increase the number of youth and adults who have relevant skills, including technical and vocational skills, for employment, decent jobs and entrepreneurship, and eliminating gender disparities in education, and to ensure equal access to all levels of education and vocational training for the vulnerable, including persons with disabilities, indigenous peoples, and children in vulnerable situations. However, there is a high-level linkage between the SDG 4 and 4 other SDGs, which are 1, SDG 1, reducing poverty, SDG 5, gender equality, SDG 8, decent work and economic growth, SDG 10, reduced inequalities. So the policy speaks directly to the realization of these SDGs. Policy objectives and strategic priorities. This is the meat of the policy. This is what the policy will do for us as Guyanese, as a country. The government of Guyana, Ministry of Education, recognizes that adequate educational and skills can improve the employability of the unemployed youth, the working population, the productivity of enterprises, and the inclusiveness of economic growth. This realization has led to increased interest by the government and the Ministry of Education in the formulation of this TVET policy to drive the change necessary to meet developmental changes, particularly to create jobs for youth in the country. This reflects on the realization and builds on the 2011-2021 TVET policy review, assessment of the present TVET sector in Guyana, and discussions were held with various key stakeholders during the policy formulation. These have led to the formulation of 5 major interrelated and interlinked policy objectives with associated strategic priorities as indicated herein. Policy Objective 1. Ensure improvement in governance, coordination, and management of the TVET sector in Guyana. Ensure improvement in governance, coordination, and management of the TVET sector in Guyana. So this is what the policy is telling us. And so the strategic priority for the realization of this policy objective: establish a single, autonomous, national institution with full responsibility and authority for the planning, coordinating, and the regulation of TVET in Guyana, formally, non-formally, and informally within the various spaces. So as we speak, we know that we have 3 agencies: the Council for TVET, the National Accreditation Council, the Board of Industrial Training under the Ministry of Labor. These are the 3 agencies that are responsible for skills training within this country. Of course, there are other agencies, ministries, and departments that are offering skills training. But at the end of the day, we recognize that in the massive rollout of training across Guyana, there is no regulatory body that will have the final, ultimate responsibility to say to the country, this is the number of persons that were trained in the various occupational programs for 2023 to 2025. As of now, the Ministry of Education has that responsibility in tabulating the numbers across the sectors, and then we make that representation in terms of our reporting. So the policy is telling us that we need to identify within the 3 agencies, based on human resources capacity, based on their infrastructure, based on financial stability, which one of these agencies will be responsible, or would there be another autonomous agency that will take on the lead responsibility in doing so. For information, I want to point us at the Ministry of Education. For those of us who can recall, we had an individual that was placed there with the responsibility for the oversight of technical education in Guyana. And that person was the late Dr. Desiree Fox, if I can recall. So that was the person that had the responsibility to ensure that the system is informed, policies are designed, financing are carefully done so that we can realize programs and activities and hence report nationally what is happening for technical education. Strategic priority 2 in the realization of the objective: develop guidelines to establish and operationalize governing boards for TVET institutions. Now we have those things, they are existing, but how do we operationalize them? How do we ensure giving the rapidity at which technical education is evolving in the landscape. How do we review, redesign, reposition, and re-engineer what we have to suit the current changes and the demands regarding these agencies and bodies that are managing technical education across the countries, Develop guidelines to establish and operationalize management committees for TVET institutions. Again, these things are in existence, but how do we ensure we take it to the other level in realizing what the policy is saying to us? Policy objective 2, redefine the architecture of TVET funding to improve efficiency in TVET delivery. Strategic priority 1 in realizing that objective, establish and operationalize the proposed TVET levy in consultation with the private sector. Now, we recognize that the government of Guyana alone cannot finance technical education. The business of technical education, it's a very costly one. However, thus far we have seen the significant investment coming from the government of Guyana, Ministry of Education, in the realization of our TVET programs, initiatives, interventions across this country. And so the private sector plays a critical role in realizing what is the universal intention of the ministry and by extension the government of Guyana. And so for countries like Singapore, like Dubai, like China, etc., and I recognize a lot of veterans here in TVET who is joining us this afternoon. We know that there is a percentage that goes towards technical education to ensure that our TVET practitioners, they're trained with the current and relevant technologies, methodologies, praxis. The upgrading and retrofitting of workshops and laboratories and general infrastructure, the private sector plays that critical role because ultimately, those are the people who will benefit from the graduates who are exiting these institutions. So the policy is telling us that we need to involve and engage with this aspect. Develop a policy for internally generated funding for TVET institutions. Of course, there is a policy to that effect. But now this guideline is telling us, how do we really realize that? Because the TVET institutions, they are seen as mini industrial settings. Students, I should not say students, but trainees are involved in actual work. Because when they complete their programs, they exit into the world of work to make that contribution. So they're generating funding. How do we translate those resources for the betterment of our post-secondary institutions and by extension, technical education? Develop a framework to encourage TVET institutions to solicit private funding. Now, there are policies on that. We can't just go out there and ask for monies like that, especially when the government is financing. So there must be some system in place, proper, regularized, legislative organization of a document to say this is how we will go about getting financing for the promotion of technical education in the respective spaces. Strategic priority 5, develop guidelines for financing the assessment and certification of learners in the CVQ and NVQ programs. I can tell you this is a costly initiative. And the Ministry of Education, from since 2019 to now, we have expanded CVQ across this country. We have there about 75 schools that are offering CVQ programs at the CVQ level 1, and there are about 25 occupational programs. And so as a result of that, it means the expansion. How do we regularize a system that will ensure that we can have assessment, certification of our learners in a timely fashion, so that when persons would have completed their programs, they don't have to wait a long time to get their certificate. So the policy is giving us this guideline. Policy objective 3, ensure improvement in the training conditions in the institutions to enhance quality training delivery and employment prospects of TVET graduates. Now we are seeing that happening presently as we speak. But of course, with the agenda of the Ministry of Education, with the government of Guyana very clear that TVET is that driving force that will remove the socio-economic inequalities within our society, then of course, investment will be more significant in this aspect. Now, you know, we have commissioned 2 state-of-the-art buildings, and I know the minister will speak on that when she gives her special remarks. Strategic priority 1 in the realization of improved conditions, operationalize the collaboration between the Cyril Potter College of Education and the and the Government Technical Institute to improve the technical and pedagogical competencies of TVET teachers and instructors. Of course, we are doing that as we speak. Our teachers exiting CPCE, they can do so with a CVQ Level 1 qualification. As we speak, we are currently working to certify the first cohort, and I recognize Dr. Jailal in our midst here. We are working to certify 119 students thereabout from CPC, first time with their CVQ Level 1 certification. Strategic priority 2, develop a comprehensive and responsive TVET teacher-instructor policy to guide TVET delivery in Guyana. And so the Ministry of Education, we commenced this process. We are currently reviewing and putting together a teacher policy. And of course, that policy will take into consideration significantly what this TVET policy is saying to us. It means that we'll have more trained TVET teachers within our secondary school system, and by extension, our post-secondary system. Strategic priority 3, modernize equipment in the training institutions to match the ever-changing technological development in the Guyanese labor market. And as I mentioned, through the World Bank project, and I want to recognize that, and the CDB project, with the government funding, we have commissioned 4 state-of-the-art practical instruction centers and practical instruction departments. In another 2-3 weeks' time, we shall commission 2 other buildings. And this is where we're talking about modernization of the tools and the equipment and infrastructure. Not just building and equipment and tools, but persons are trained with the new modus of the CBET delivery. And here is where the Council for TVET is playing that critical role. Strategic priority 4, develop a national framework to harmonize the registration, licensing, and accreditation of training providers, TVET teachers, instructors, and TVET programs in Guyana. Again, this is the forward movement that the Ministry of Education would have embarked on. Operationalize elements of the CANTA quality assurance framework at all levels of TVET delivery to assure quality and improve skills mobility with the Caribbean region. And of course, the Council for TVET is that apex agency that provides the guidance accordingly to the Ministry of Education as it relates to changes with the regulations and guidelines that governs quality technical education here in Guyana. Policy objective 4, ensure the smooth transition of TVET graduates from training into wage and or self-employment. Of course, we are witnessing this here in our country today. And from where I am sitting, I can tell you, people are in training and persons are coming into the institution requesting our graduates from earliest of time so that they can get into the workplace. But how do we regularize this? How do we structure this? Because once you're in training, then one is expected to complete, get their certification, and of course, they have that mobility into the world of work. The priority in realizing that, initiate a process to formally establish a sector skills council as a private sector entity to liaise between the training providers and employers to enhance the relevance and employability of TVET graduates. This is very important. If we use a Singaporean model, this is what we are talking about here. And given the place at which we are positioned, then definitely we need that counsel to guide what are the gaps existing. We have the professionals, the technical persons within the various sectors, advising and informing that autonomous agency that we spoke about earlier, where we need to focus our training, what we need to develop, what are the tools and equipment we need to have to ensure that we train for the emerging areas. Develop a framework for collaboration between training providers and employers for skills forecasting to meet the future technical and vocational skills of the Guyanese economy. Of course, we have to forecast. What we are doing now might not be relevant because of the emergence of activities within our space. And so, for example, we're talking about plumbing that we are all accustomed to as a program. But given the oil and gas sector and what is happening onshore, offshore, we're talking about piping as a program. How do we ensure that we align our programs at the institutions level so that we have relevance and currency with the training we are providing? Develop and implement a monitoring and evaluation framework supported by a management information system. We are doing that as we speak. So sooner than later, the Ministry of Education will launch the TVET MIS. And that's a project that we're working under the World Bank, the management information system. And so this will help us to remediate what we used to be doing traditionally. So from registration all the way to certification, one can track the progress of a student and know exactly where they're positioning. So this is a system that will help us to monitor and ensure that we are issuing certificates in a timely fashion. Policy Objective 5, I will not go into details with all the areas. You have a copy, you can read, digest, and of course, we can engage further. Policy Objective 5, increase enrollment and ensure equity in TVET delivery to meet the present and future skills needs of the Guyanese labor market. And of course, this is important. I can tell you for the last 2 years, thereabout, we have seen an incremental increase in terms of our admission within our post-secondary institutions. The Ministry of Education would have seen an incremental increase in more females applying for CVQ programs at our post-secondary institutions. And that is something that is remarkable. And so, of course, the policy is here to guide us as to how we can structure that instrument to ensure we realize our admission at the post-secondary institution. So one, develop a framework to encourage gender participation in trades perceived to be specific gender-oriented, expand the facilities of the training providers and enhance their human resources based on enrollment to have more qualified trainees in the various programs, operationalize sections of the Guyana National Disability Act related to technical and vocational skills development to improve access to TVET for persons with disability. And of course, this is the inclusion we're talking about. So we are talking about persons with disabilities benefiting from quality and equitable delivery of technical education. And so, my dear friends, this here was just a synopsis of what is in this document. Because if we should go this through, we'll spend maybe till tomorrow, and I know we have other things to do. So I'll ask that we take some time and we go through this and we just don't put this somewhere in a cupboard, because this is the document that will guide the transformation and the realization of quality technical education in this beautiful country of ours, Guyana, noting all the investments. And so I ask that we read and understand, and so you will be well informed and positioned and playing a critical role in this whole process. And so in closing, the TVET Policy 2025-2035 serves as a strategic and well-articulated roadmap that represents a holistic robust and forward-thinking approach for the transformation of the Guyana's workforce. By focusing on these key areas, we aim to build a resilient, world-class, skilled and competitive workforce to meet the rapidly evolving and transformational landscape. The Ministry of Education, and by extension the Government of Guyana, formally recognizes the stellar contribution of key stakeholders and partners in education, and highly anticipates the continuity of networking, collaboration, and partnership in the realization of quality and equity of TVET delivery in Guyana. At the Ministry of Education, we say TVET can save us. TVET is on the move, and we can only do that hands-on, minds-on, and hearts-on. I thank you very much, and God bless us all.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tolaram, Deputy Chief Education Officer, Technical. And so we've had quite a comprehensive overview of the TVET document, the policy document, which, if you would have been listening, and I'm certain that you were, as you all engrossed in Dr. Tolaram's speech, it lays a strategic direction for technical education, from funding for technical education to partnerships with the private sector, and of course, the achievement of many of the SDGs. So I want to say thanks again to Dr. Tolaram. And before I relieve him of his space officially, I want to wish him a happy birthday also. It's his special day, so please put your hands together for Dr. Tolaram once more. And so to break the ice, I know we've been sitting for quite a while, I want to invite an individual who will be entertaining us. And this person is Gardana Alberts, who will be giving us a musical rendition. Please welcome Gardana.
Guyana, our homeland, where unity runs deep. One Guyana, united we stand, hand in hand, we'll build the land, from the coast to the savannas, the rainforest tall. One Guyana will rise above it all. From the mighty Essequibo to the Rupununi Plains, diverse cultures intertwine like rivers after rains. Oh, the colors. Tell me what you see. One nation sits diversity. Celebrate with me. Celebrate with me. Wherever we burden our head, as a proud Guyanese, celebrate with me. Celebrate with me. 3,000 square miles, land of many waters, land of the giants, the largest single drop waterfall, rich with minerals and resources are for we. Look around and tell me what you see. One nation, six diversity. Celebrate with me. Celebrate with me. Wherever we go, then arrowhead. As a proud Diane, celebrate with me. Celebrate with me. My fellow Guyanese, come and join me as we celebrate what we have. Put down your weapons and pick up your national flag. Look around and tell me what you see. One nation, six diversity. Celebrate with me. Celebrate with me. Wherever we go, then arrowhead. As a proud Diane, celebrate with me. Celebrate with me. Look around and tell me what you see. One nation, six diversity. Celebrate with me. Celebrate with me. Wherever we go, then arrowhead. As a proud Diane, celebrate with me. Celebrate with me. I'm Benyan, East Indian, Portuguese, European, African, Chinese. Celebrate with me. Celebrate with me. I'm Benyan, East Indian, Portuguese, European, African, Chinese. Celebrate with me. Celebrate with me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Gardana Alberts. No wonder she is the Calypso 14 to 18 champion. Well done. Thank you so much. We will now hear from our partners at the World Bank. And so I want to invite an individual who I will tell a little bit about. This individual brings a wealth of experience in education and human development. He's an advocate for education reform. He's also a former Minister of Education of Peru. He was the Global Director for Poverty Reduction and Equity, also acting Vice President of Poverty Reduction and Economic Management at the World Bank. Now, he is the Director of Human Development for Latin America and the Caribbean. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Dr. Jamie Saavedra to the main podium. Thank you so much.
Well, good afternoon to everyone. It's tough to come after a song, so I think I will be much less entertaining than a song. But first of all, I wanted to thank for the invitation and for the opportunity to work together to the Honorable Minister Marichan. To also thank Dr. Ritesh Tularam, the Deputy Chief Education Officer. I won't go through the details, which has been extremely well explained by Dr. Tularam, but I just want to mention that it's a privilege to join everyone here at the presentation of this Guyana TVET policy, which is, as Dr. Tularam was explaining, was or is a really comprehensive roadmap that underscores the country's commitment to equipping youth with the skills that they will need in order to build their own future and contribute to building the future of this economy. As Guyana leverages its substantial natural resources and resource endowments and position itself as a leading economy, it's absolutely essential that for that dreams of a high-income country be realized, it's absolutely essential to continue investing in the people, to invest in the human capital of this country, to invest in on everyone who is here, in order to give them the skills that they're going to need in the future. A future that is each time more complicated, that each time more uncertain. We don't know exactly what's going to be the structure of the economy in the world in the coming years. You will see that there are so many changes in the world in terms of climate change, in terms of technology, the advances in AI, demographic shifts. So several mega trends in the world that makes the world more difficult to predict. So actually we're not, when someone asks us, so what are the skills that people are gonna need in the future? What are the skills that these young people, that you guys are gonna need in the future? It's very difficult to predict, right? So the key thing is to give everyone, to equip them with those skills that will allow them to be flexible and be able to adapt to the challenges that will come in the future. Everyone should have the foundational skills, and that we need to work a lot in terms of our primary education system to make sure that absolutely everyone has the foundational skills that are needed. Everyone must have now digital skills. Everyone must have social emotional skills in order to be able to work in teams, to be more creative, to be more resilient, to adapt to new changes. And the Guyana economy is evolving at an unprecedented pace. If you see the tables of the rates of growth of economies, you see that economies are growing at 1, at 2, at 3%, and then you see a 30. I say, oh, there must be a typo in this table. There must be a mistake. That's not a mistake, right? It's a 30. It's a 40. The rate, the pace of growth of this economy is gigantic, and that dynamic growth creates a unique opportunity to ensure that our training programs are both high quality and highly pertinent, aligns with the needs that we see in industries. And I think this new policy is aimed precisely at that, at enhancing the quality and relevance of vocational education, and also a platform that will ensure, as Dr. Tulan was saying, to ensure equitable access for everyone. We need to make sure that all people, all young people in Guyana will have the opportunity to have a high quality education after secondary. Some will choose a university, some will choose a technical education, but in all those cases, it must be an education that it's that enrich your skills. Now, this policy also incorporates the use of technology in education and supports the training in high demand sectors as oil and gas, but also in green industries and in other industries and an economy that also looks to be diversified and not only based in oil and gas. The reforms in technology in technical and vocational education are ambitious, and they must be ambitious. They must be ambitious because it's very difficult. Sometimes we use this phrase TVET, or this technical education policy, as it would be an homogeneous thing. And it's not. It's very complex and very complicated for two reasons. Why? Because the needs of the productive sector are very heterogeneous, and because also our youth is super heterogeneous. And we need to cater young people that have very different characteristics. On one hand, we need to make sure that this provides young people with sophisticated technical skills that will be needed by the labor market, and now even more in a world in which we are incorporating technology at a very fast pace, and things change literally 1 month to the other. So on one hand, you say, well, the technical skills that we'll need to provide are complicated, and particularly to those young people who have finished their secondary education. And we have good skills in secondary, we need to equip them with even more sophisticated technical skills. But at the same time, there is a lot of young people in Latin America and the Caribbean and in Guyana, there's a lot of people who have not finished secondary education. Right? Unfortunately, still across the whole region, we have a problem of school dropouts, kids who don't finish secondary education. And then that young guy will have, or that young girl will be a 20-year-old or a 25-year-old, and do not have the foundational skills that should have had if that person would have finished secondary. But what do we do with that 20-year-old that only had 2 years of secondary or 1 year of secondary? And that person is going to be in the labor market for the next 60 years, right? And we're investing a lot in health and successfully, so that person will even live longer, right? So what do we do with those kids? So we need to make sure that also technical education must cater also to those kids. So sometimes I have to provide them remedial education, but also digital education, also social-emotional skills, and also technical skills. But it's even more complicated. So technical education is very complex, but it's complex. And nobody said that public policy is easy. It is complicated. And then provide the right skills to our young people is a very challenging job. I think then this policy is precisely giving us that opportunity, right, in order to make sure that we give all young people the skills that they will need in the future. Now, second, by promoting digital transformation in this policy, we're opening new avenues for enhanced teaching and learning in TVET. The integration of digital tools offers the possibility of providing tailored, personalized training for teachers first, right? Enable ongoing professional development and the delivery of all the programs that individual students need. So with technology, one can be much more effective on providing the personalized instruction that the teachers that work on the TVET world need, and at the same time, personalized instructions for students. Virtual reality, for instance, can be used to simulate real-world practical scenarios, allowing technicians to practice safely with heavy machinery or to rehearse complex procedures before handling actual equipment. All those innovations not only improve safety and efficiency, but also ensure that students gain hands-on experience in a controlled, risk-free environment. The whole of government approach that Dr. Tularan was mentioning underpins this initiative. This new TVET policy will bring together various ministries along with many other key stakeholders. As you were saying, the policy suggests the establishment of a single autonomous national institution to improve the sectoral governance. Now, that is complicated because that's bringing all sectors to coordinate, and that's very complex. And everyone who has, some people here in the room, not everyone because there's a lot of young people here, but some people in the room here who have been working on public policy knows that coordination across institutions is complicated. But that's, again, that's the name of the game. That coordination is absolutely essential. So it's very important that this policy is recognizing that. It's also recognizing that the need to coordinate better with the private sector, right, in order to make sure that there is one single ecosystem in which we bring all the institutions of higher education, universities, technical institutions, and firms, so that all together can define what are the right skills that our young people need. In summary, this policy is a fundamental reform that will modernize vocational education, bridge the skills gaps, and align the workforce of the country with the rapidly and uncertain evolving needs of the economy. Now, let me finish saying that one important challenge that the Guyanese economy, the Guyanese education sector, and many other education sectors face is the need to integrate and articulate the whole system of higher education. Sometimes we see the world like students at the end of secondary, they need to choose either the highway of the university or the highway of technical institutions. And at 18 or 17, you need to choose one of the two. And it's too early to choose, right? And actually, we need to make sure that actually kids can decide, well, I want to go to university, or I want to go to a technical institution, or I can do a micro-credential. And later in life, I will touch again the education system. So the education system must integrate all those components in a very seamless way. So that's a next step for a country like Guyana, is to establish seamless pathways between technical institutes and universities, ensuring that vocational graduates can really pursue advanced studies and specialized training and create an integrated and robust, comprehensive skill development ecosystem. The challenge now that there's a policy, that there's a document, is to finalize details and implement. And that's a gigantic challenge. But this is urgent because there are young people today that are waiting for a better quality education. On behalf of the World Bank, I extend my gratitude to the government of Guyana, to the staff of the the project implementation unit, and our dedicated teams that work and supported in the development of this policy, and to everyone whose commitment has been critical for this transformative initiative. The collaborative spirit and unwavering dedication of all involved is absolutely key to ensure that Guyana's youth are equipped with the skills that are needed to drive the country's future prosperity, to build their future, and to contribute to building the future of Guyana. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jamie Saavedra of the World Bank, the Director for Human Development for Latin America and the Caribbean. He has challenged the Ministry of Education, of course, to now implement, and I think that is the direction in which the team will be heading towards for the next 10 years of this policy, the life of this policy. We will be implementing. We will hear from one of our teachers who will be entertaining us with a poem. Get skilled, get paid. I want us to welcome Ms. Lavella Sears as she renders us that poem. Please welcome Ms. Lavella Sears.
Good afternoon, all. I stand on all protocols that were already established. The privilege is mine to share a written poem. Two of the things I wanted to do whilst writing this poem was to obviously educate you on CVQ. But I wanted to do it in such a way that it will resonate with you. Whether you might be washing, baking, cooking, whatever you might be doing at home, this catchphrase should repeatedly play in your mind that you should fully understand that you need to get skilled to get paid. With that being said, I thought it fitting to title the poem, Get Skilled, Get Paid. What's the name of the poem? Okay. All those debts, things unpaid, leaving you all so afraid. Don't worry, I have a solution for you. It's a simple abbreviation called CVQ. Get skilled, get paid. No more being delayed. From building a house to baking a cake, we're learning skills for goodness sake. Tourism, tech, construction strong, we're learning growing all day long. Get skilled, get paid. No more being delayed. We're learning to code like tech pros, building website that everyone knows. CVQ, we're on the rise. Building skills, reaching for the skies. Get skilled, get paid. No more being delayed. Caribbean vocational qualifications help you to not end up in sticky situations. My job here is to encourage you so everyone will join by the time I'm through. Get skilled, get paid. No more being delayed. Since you got your CVQ, you're a star. No more sitting in that rusty car. No more stress, no more tears. CVQ got rid of all your fears. Get skilled, get paid. No more being delayed. So get your CVQ, it's a joyful ride where skills are honed with Caribbean pride. We'll make our mark in every space, filled with talent and grace. In every island, every shore, skills we learn forevermore. Get skilled, get paid. No more being delayed. When I say get skilled, you say get paid. Get skilled, get skilled. Thank you.
And I must say thank you, Miss. That's a teacher indeed. Get skilled, get paid. I think I might want to switch careers after this. Thank you so much, Miss. We will now hear from another sister agency. That is the Board of Industrial Training. I know they have been doing quite a lot of work and in some places filling the gaps where we may not have been able to reach. And so at this time, I want to call on Mr. Richard Mon, the CEO of the Board of Industrial Training, to give us some brief remarks.
Mr. Chairman, Honorable Minister, special invitees, reps from the World Bank, as I cast my eyes around the auditorium this afternoon, I realized that I must be limited in my words so that we will allow sufficient time for the feature address. The representation in the auditorium this afternoon is also reflective of that which was done in the development of this piece of document, the TVET policy, that will allow for renewed effort and renewed focus in the implementation of quality technical vocational education and training programs in the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. During the period of developing this policy, we note that stakeholders from both education, labor, private sector, all spend time making sure that we have a document that will speak to the vision of the government of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, the vision of technical leaders within our society, to make sure that we have individuals who are suitably competent to add to productivity in the world of work. As we launch this TVET policy, the Ministry of Labor, the Board of Industrial Training is committed to playing its part in achieving the intent of the policy. As actors in the grand scheme of national development, we believe that the demand of the economy should guide what we do when it comes to technical vocational education and training. We also believe that because of what is happening within our economy, that there must be strong coordination and collaboration between labor and education to make sure that we are generating individuals who are suitably competent to act effectively within the world of work. Therefore, we are committed from the Ministry of Labor to make sure that we do our part to make sure that this policy is not just a document, but something that we will use to effect quality change within our society when it comes to technical vocational education and training. Globally, around the world, when we look, we see that as economy change, the need for skills change and the type of skills we need also change. And it behoves duty bearers to put systems in place to make sure that we focus our attention in making sure that there are training opportunities that will allow the labor force to realize its mandate, and that is to produce. In Guyana, we are seeing growth in several sectors as a result of what is happening in the oil and gas sector. We are seeing growth in public infrastructure because of the plans of the government, the vision of the government. We are seeing these things, and there is a call for more skilled personnel. We cannot sit idly by, but we have to work collaboratively to make sure we achieve same. And generally, when we look at what have been outlined within the policy, I will not go through it again because it was well done earlier. We realize that we have to work together to achieve this goal. Working together with the Ministry of Labor and the Ministry of Education and all stakeholders that are involved, we believe that we will see great reduction in skills mismatch. And as we read the policy and we seek to implement the policy, we believe that in Guyana, there will be a great reduction in that gap whereby we're seeing there is some degree of deficit in what we are producing and what employers need. With the implementation of this policy, we believe that we will no longer have that reality. We acknowledge that implementing education requires laws, it requires regulation, it also requires policy, and that is why we were willing to work also with the Ministry of Education to make sure that this policy has been realized to this point. And therefore, we are committed to making sure that we continue to put in what is needed to realize the intention of this policy. Policies will allow for collaborative discussion among ministries, among private sectors, among the beneficiaries of training programs. As we listened earlier, among the key premise of this policy is governance, TVET governance, that we need to address in Guyana. Another key area is TVET financing. Over the years, there have been many debates on how we will continue to finance TVET. It's good to say that the government of Guyana have been given 100% when it comes to making sure that finances are available for technical vocational education and training in Guyana. But the government cannot do it alone. Globally, we realize that it takes all partners to put hands on board to make sure that there is enough and sufficient finance to be used in a structured manner for the implementation of quality technical vocational education and training. Thus, we see within the policy the recommendation for us to focus not just by discussion, but putting in laws in place to govern how we will finance TVET. To the Honorable Minister of Education, we thank you for the work and for allowing us to work and bring this document to this point. And we look forward to make sure that we can work together to achieve the general premise that has been outlined within this policy so that our people will continue to receive skills training, but not just receive skills training at every level with a relevant qualification that will permit them to matriculate on higher levels of training and also not only be able to work in Guyana only, but to work within the global labor force, as we are one global family, one global country. I would want to say we are global citizens. Therefore, we have to make sure that that which we issue to our trainees are reflective of a document that they can use to work anywhere in the world. Thank you very much for coming out, and we look forward for the implementation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Richard Mon, CEO of the Board of Industrial Training. Indeed, partnership is key. We're going to hear from another student, and she'll be doing for us a poem. So let us welcome from Zeeburg Secondary, Miss Akila Williams. Please put your hands together for Akila.
A blessed good afternoon, everyone. My poem is entitled, Girls as Engineers. Listen up and you will hear why girls can be engineers. We have a passion too. Girls can invent and build just as the boys do. Listen up and you will hear why girls can be engineers. We are innovative, we are resilient and educated. Listen up and you will hear why girls can be engineers. We can solve the world's technical problems and still look pretty while doing it. They say that's for boys only. No, girls can be engineers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Akila. It's a message that is important. So anyone can be an engineer, and girls for sure. They're not left out. They will be part of the TVET movement. They are part of the TVET movement. Thank you very much, Akila. And so we are coming down closer to the end of our program, but before we get there, we have come to the point where we'll hear from our leader. She has been working behind the scenes to pull all of this together, and it's with her inspiration that we have today a policy that will guide us for the next 10 years. Please join me in welcoming the Honorable Minister of Education, Ms. Priya Manikchand.
No, please sit. Thank you very much, Marty. To our World Bank friends, Deletta, you're hiding, and particularly our visiting rep from Latin America and the Caribbean, Jaime Saavedra, and I'm very glad that you are a former Minister of Education. I think you'd understand better the challenges and the integration that has to happen in education to help you in the post that you hold. So I don't think we could have chosen better for a rep. And to all the Ministry of Education persons, particularly our DCEO for TVET, whose birthday it is. I think he chose today specifically to launch this, so we could all tell him happy birthday several times. And to everyone else here, teachers and particularly our young people, I'm very, very glad to be here this afternoon. I promise you I will not be as long as Ritesh was. For us in the ministry, it's both an exciting time and a challenging time. We're at a place where, as we build out a new Guyana infrastructurally, we have to determine what kind of citizen we want. And that's been a question that's been asked by several politicians and governments and leaders religiously and politically before. But I think we're at a crucial point where we need to sit down and decide what is the student we want to produce into society. Who is the adult we want in Guyana? What kinds of characteristics they must have? What kinds of skills they must have? How will they cope in the new Guyana? And I know those are very academic questions and they make for good letter writing. I see Dr. Jerry Jailal here. And it's easy to pontificate. It's easy to pontificate on that and get all your answers right in say, a letter to the newspapers or an academic article. It becomes a lot harder when you add into that mix the realities of any country. Habits that we formed, culture, the traditional mode of delivering education, what parents believe. We have young parents now, so it's not only waiting until the older parents no longer have children in school. So it's a combination of things. If we were to talk about abolition of corporal punishment now, you'll have people on one side, my side has been fairly public, I believe it should be abolished in the school system. And then you'll have people coming with religious books to my consultation saying why it should not be abolished. And teachers saying they can't manage the classroom that they're already not managing if we abolish it. And you have a whole conversation around that that is very, very controversial. If we were to say that we're going to allow homeschooling, you'll have persons who will immediately latch on to that and say, this is what I want for my child, because I don't believe your system caters for my particular child. And you'll have persons looking at that person as though they're crazy. This is the system. How could you even offer homeschooling? Ministry of Education, Government of Guyana. What are you doing to our next generation? And so these are all highly areas that are emerging as questions that must be asked and answered in a constructive way in our Guyana. We have entire academic papers and research that suggests that the traditional academic degrees, 4-year degrees, bachelors of whatever, are no longer as marketable or useful as a skill earned. And so that the encouragement is that countries should invest more than usual and more proportionately in TVET education. And so we have all these questions arising. And in that atmosphere, we found ourselves in Guyana without a guiding document. And while this is a 10-year policy, I expect because everything is evolving and evolving so quickly, that there is going to be a review of this, and there may be amendments with either deletions or additions. But this is our guiding policy for TVET in Guyana. It guides not only us in the Ministry of Education, it will guide the Ministry of Labor, it's going to guide the Ministry of Human Services, who does some kind of training with women. It's going to guide the University of Guyana, it's going to guide the Cyril Potter College of Education. It's going to guide anyone involved in training our young people. There was a time in Guyana, not so long ago, where the message sent to our young people was that you had to do medicine or law or go into the sciences or accounting to be able to earn and look after your family and be of a certain category when you grow up in society. And that's quickly being removed by persons choosing TVET. So at Queen's College right now, there's a young student writing CSEC in fourth form, and he is in the technical stream. He has chosen TVET to write his CSECs because his intention is to immediately upon matriculating, and I expect him to do very well, to go to the University of Guyana to do technical subjects in the Faculty of Technology. It's not the faculty of the new medical school we opened yesterday. It's not the faculty of law. It's the Faculty of Technology that he's heading to. And we know right here in Guyana, in the ministries, we are searching high and low for engineers or even clerks of work with certain skill sets. We're searching for plumbers and masons and electricians, and or even persons who have apprenticeship in those, so that we could maintain schools in a way that we want to maintain schools now. And that's only the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Public Works, the Ministry of Housing. Just government alone is searching high and low for skills that we cannot currently find. And I know it's the same situation with the private sector. So much so that we will have at some point perhaps to import skills before we grow out those skills, if we are to grow the Guyana that we want to grow at the pace that we want to develop. So this policy comes at a time when we're trying to bring all of that together. In education right now, I'm very, very pleased to say that we're on the brink of achieving universal secondary education, having been declared by the United Nations to have achieved the Millennium Development Goal of having universal primary education. We're also very, very close, although we do not have compulsory nursery education, to having universal nursery education. And that simply means that universally, across the country, all over, we will have access to secondary and nursery education, joining the access that we currently have to primary. In addition to that, we have expanded our TVET areas. We used to have technical institutes in regions 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 10. We're now putting TVET institutions through practical instruction centers in region 7 in Bartica, in region 3 at Fellowship, I see the head here, in region 4 at Better for Wachting, in region 5 at Hope Town, and in region 9 at St. Ignatius. 5 new institutions, 3 of which we have already opened, 2 are going to be opened in the next couple of weeks. And one, sorry, in region 1 at Mabaruma. This is the build out we're talking about, the access that we're offering to people. And I hope you see that it's not concentrated in one region or the other. There was a time when education could really, especially post-secondary education, could only be accessed in region 4, particularly in Georgetown, either at CPC or Turkine, which are both in the same physical location. We're now at a place where you could stay in region 1 and become a motor mechanic or a food preparation specialist, or you could be in region 9 and learn how to do craft and goods from leather, or you could be all the way up in Hope Town and train to be a teacher, and as well as to do your CVQs at the new PIC. So when we talk about development, it's not just talk. It is nationally trying to make sure there is equality of service, equality of reach, equality in access, and that everyone could have opportunities. Now, while this was a struggle to get here, it took us a few years to get this policy together because we wanted to get it right, but we also wanted to make sure we consulted widely and that we had the right editing and the right fit in every area. I want to say to the implementers of this policy that this is the beginning. It seems like it might have been the hardest part, but that compared to what's coming before us, which is the implementation, that was the easiest part, to get to the place where we have a policy. Implementing this is where we now have to make sure we don't get lazy, make sure we don't have changes. All of those 5 practical instruction centers that I just named began prior to 2020. None were finished in a 5-year period. The medical school that we opened yesterday was conceived of in 2014. The loan signed in 2017. We couldn't get the sod turned until 2023, and we opened it yesterday. And so it's important that we hold the focus, that we keep the focus, that we stay on the trajectory of growth, that we stay in a place where we can see implementation of this policy. And it's important that we all understand where it leads to when we cannot see growth, because we've had those kinds of comparisons before. So to me and for me, today is a remarkable day, not only in launching the policy, but in advancing us one step forward in creating the Guyana we want, and creating or making opportunities for the citizen that we might want to see in 10 years' time, and for providing to teachers and students and service providers across the board a guiding document that indicates the government's trajectory and the state's trajectory in the area of technical and vocational education and training. So this afternoon, it gives me great pleasure to officially launch our Technical and Vocational Education and Training Policy 2025 to 2035. I thank you and God bless you all.
Thank you, Honorable Minister Piramanik Chand, for launching the TVET policy. And indeed, this is just the beginning. Learners, teachers and principals, team from the World Bank, Ministry of Education and team of the Ministry of Education, special invitees, I do want to thank each and every one of you for coming out this afternoon to witness the launch of this policy. I do want to wish you all the best for the rest of the afternoon, and may you have a safe return home. I now bring this program to a close. I thank you so much. Refreshments are served on the way out, so I'll invite each and every one of you to indulge in some light refreshments downstairs.